Why are you laughing, man?
What's this funny?
It's the truth. He's ugly. So my name is Bill Cobham. I am a musician. My specialization is drumming, trap drumming. Reason? It's very, very complex. Coming from an Italian background that was bathed in, I can't even talk anymore. I'm having my problem with this. An Italian background, great. I'll do it again, for sure. I'm Billy Cobham. What do? I play the drums more often than not, for the love of it, primarily. So, let's see. This pretzel is so good, I can't stop eating it. Is to work within the rhythm section that is sensitive to you. Now let's take the classic rhythm section of 4 people, all inclusive, right? So you have a guitarist and the bass player and the drummer, keyboard player. Just that. If the drummer and the bass player, first and foremost, are not synchronized with each other in thought, in concept, how to phrase together, how to enhance certain patterns together. Doesn't mean that they have to play the exact same pattern, but what they need to do is to be sensitive to each other as the patterns come down. What's played, when it's played, how to move from that one point in real time to the next one. What are we going to do to continue to support that, add to, or take away? Now you add not just one melodic low-end line, which is the bass player, but now say you take a guitarist with rhythm. How does that fall into place? The guitarist has to feed, as does the drummer and the bass player, ideas to each other. The keyboard player will play the chords fundamentally in total, but he is the foundation enhancement of everything that's going on the stage. What notes when, and what to listen for from each player. So the drummer is listening for all of this, even when playing a basic fundamental boom, bap, boom, bap. It's not just for the timing, the rhythm. It's actually also the tones of how you play the bass drum, how you approach playing your snare drum. Every sound is a personal element that is important. How you approach playing the hi-hat, if that's what's going to be for the moment, then what sounds you choose from that point forward. Do you draw the sound out, or do you play into the cymbal? Do you play into the drum? You're selecting, continually selecting. Nothing is ever the same twice, but you have to think these things through, so that you know from your past experiences, which is your history as a player, what works in certain given situations and what don't. If you have a chance to work with people whom you are comfortable with over time, that information is then filed and archived within your memory banks, so that when you come to a position where you're working with someone else, you have some basic understanding as to what to do because it worked for you before. You bring that to the table, and this is how you learn. Things change with personalities. Everybody who plays, they bring this to the table. More often than not, unfortunately, it's to compete, not to contribute, to show who's the alpha. Okay, so now we get into who plays louder, who plays faster, okay, who plays intensely, which means faster for most people because they don't understand intensity as opposed to speed and synchronization. They don't really care about anybody else in the band. It's just that they want to walk away going, I left everybody on the floor, I'm there by myself. And everybody remembers, who even listens, that yeah, the drummer was amazing, but what was the musical statement? What was this all about? They played intensely. Was it musically intensely, or was it just loud? Because you can play intensely and play a double pianissimo if you have the control. If you don't, everybody loses. If you only play for yourself and you don't contribute to everyone else, you just wasted your time and everybody else's time, the listeners and those who compete, who work with you. My objective is to play with the rhythm section, and the best way for me to do that in terms of any rhythm section, I feel confident that I can walk on the bandstand and someone calls off something that everyone knows, even if it's just a blues, and just provide a platform for all the other people on the stage to see their shoulders go, yeah, I can feel this, whatever it may be. But now I know that this is for real. There's a sense of security here. Everybody's working together. Now we're in sync. Now we can go wherever we want to as a unit, not as person. Then we've accomplished something. That's what I like to do. I was blessed to be in the situation to walk into a recording studio once. And as I opened the door, if you can imagine, on my right, as I opened the door to come to the studio with my trap case, I hear multiple keyboard players. And the first one I see is trying to get sounds that he feels comfortable with on a Rhodes piano that is wired to the piano into a sine wave generator. So it's that, plus he's working with an Oberheim ring modulator at the same time. All of this stuff had just kind of come on the market. And he's doing that, so it's like, woo, and now that's happening. Just to the right, I hear clonk, 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 clonk. And I look, and the thing that catches my eye is a shoe going up and down, the heel of the shoe. And the shoe belongs to Keith Jarrett, who's beating an RMI piano because he can't stand the sound of it. Okay, so that's two piano players. The third piano player is Joe Zavinu, who is looking at the two of them as if they were from another planet, and playing on a he's just on a Wurlitzer. And the last keyboard player is the late Larry Young, who's playing organ in a big Panama hat, because Larry was like, I think it's safe to say 2 meters, 2 or 3, 4, somewhere in there. In terms of size, he was like, he could have been a power forward for anyone's basketball team. And so he's playing a B3 organ, beard. He has a wonderful smile of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland under the hat, and a purple muumuu that's covered his whole body, and it's just sort of hanging there. And he's smiling at everybody as if he's out of his mind. You couldn't see the strings for marionettes. You know, it was Miles's recording session. It was just a typical session. And that was just the keyboard players. And that was 4. The 5th one came in after we started playing. That was Herbie. Miles had access to 5 of the greatest keyboard players of my generation. Let's not go into Bill Evans and all the guys before. Okay, that's a whole nother world. Now, bass player. Harvey Brooks Electric Bass, Big Brother in the Holding Company. You know, Janis Joplin, all that. Next to him is Ron Carter playing upright bass. That's 2 bass players, okay? What I'm getting at is, Miles just, as I said, the marionette strings you don't see, but he's pointing. And as he's pointing, someone will play. Everyone else is quiet. But it's not because they don't know what to do. It's just that he may hear something, or he may want to bring something out, because they do, in fact, know what they feel they can contribute because they're listening to their colleagues and they know this will work, maybe this will work. It's just one of these things where everyone's working together to play only what they feel would be effective, what they can contribute, not to impress anybody else by way of being more of the mind of being dominant. It's about what will work. Here, I hear this. Well, let me put this in here like so. It may be one note or two from Joe, verse, and a couple of things from Chick. And we've got, who is it? I forget his name now on saxophone. It wasn't Benny Maupin, I can't remember, I'll remember in a minute. But McLaughlin's there, 3 percussionists, Alirio Lima, who's out of his mind, he's running around screaming at somebody, and shaking this or that in the whole studio. Badal Roy Chowdhury, who's in the studio in a room that's separated from everybody, and of course Ayoto Morera. So with those 3 guys, we get the percussion stuff. I'm playing. For me, it was more like being kind of a fly on the wall and just observing how organized everyone was. And Miles never, that I can recall, never said to anyone to do anything. All these things were happening, and I was just amazed. My hands were moving, but I don't recall what I played. Honestly, I don't know where I play on those records. Because I just didn't pay much attention to that. It was just nice to be in the presence of everybody else and watch all of this happen, The only record that I know of for sure that I played on, which has a story to itself, is Jack Johnson, because it wasn't supposed to be. We got in there at 12:30, and everything was set up. By 1:15, the session was done, and it was supposed to run for 6 hours, all because we played a shuffle that was not designed for this recording. But it felt so good that Miles decided, we got it. Why mess with it? They just edited and put Silent Way, parts of Silent Way with Jack DeJohnette and other people on the record, and the rest was history, And for me, to get back to the whole idea of it all, it's respect. You play out of respect for your colleagues, especially when man, it's almost as if they've done so much, so you want to hear what they do more than you want to hear yourself. And you just add only what you need to. That's very, very important. I think the key to that is being unafraid of making mistakes. The next thing is not being cerebral. The first thing you walk into a place, I walk into a place with the respect for the music. I don't know it, so now I have to learn it. But I really have to learn it by seeing what it is and how it works. Not just seeing what's on the paper, which is one-dimensional, but the 2- and 3-dimensional act of hearing it and viewing the body language of the people who are playing, how the music is phrased, as to what is written could be quite different based on each individual musician. So the objective is to understand what that's all about. So stay open. Okay, the notes say ba 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 ba. Okay, and that's repeated ba 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 ba. But it could be da 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 da, even though it's 1 quarter note, 2 8 notes, and a half note. It could be treated as something else. I just had a student who I gave I challenged him to think of a piece that's written in 2/4, but phrase it in 3. It can be looked upon as being da-do, but what you see on the paper could be and so clicking in 3, but you're playing in 2 against it. Now the mind has to decide, how do I phrase that? And why I shouldn't be afraid of the 3 because it's still in 2 and it's going to end up in 3 at the end. Maybe on the last beat of 3, but it'll be in 2. First, bass drums. Actually, first is the music. What do you want to play? Okay? So, based on what you want to play is what you design the drums for. Because they're not going to play themselves. You're going to play through them. So, you have these cylinders, if you will, called shells. They could be any material within reason, really. I mean, Carl Palmer had a set that weighed 3.5 tons, all steel. And on the platform, never broke down, thank God. You know, and it took some kind of a crane to pick it up and put it in the box. But when they were making a lot of money, as Emerson, Lake and Palmer, they could afford a crane and a plane to take the crane and the drums in it, you know. So that made sense. On the other hand, I played on drums that are made from bamboo. And it's a whole nother thing, man, you know, where it's very light. Bamboo vibrates in a different way. Combinations of drums in that way with maple and bamboo and interiors and all that. You get to know what that is if you're really into it, to understand what these particular attributes will do in relationship to how you play. Okay. Now you throw on, let's get past the rims, but the drum heads. What drum heads will work best for you? What combination? Not just the batter head on the bass drum, but the resonant head on the front. Not just the batter heads on the toms, but the resonant heads on the bottom. There's some people, and I don't know his work that well, I mean, and with all due respect, but I'm not listening to Steve Gadd past his ideas within a certain area of performance. I mean, all of it sounds logical and good to me, good feeling. But I feel him more than I, in terms of what he plays, than the tonal content, because everything sounds like da 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 da. It's all very flat, very dampened down. That's him. That's a personality. Dave Weckl, different personality. You know, Dennis Chambers, different personality, okay? Will Calhoun, different personality. And all of them are very much where you want to be. It depends on where you want to go with what you're doing. And if you want to follow that route, that's all good. But what's important for me is to be able to open up my drums or close them down on my own in real time as I'm playing. So I like to start with the open stuff and then dampen as I play, as and where I do. That means I need to understand what the drums heads will do for me on every drum, from the 8-inch down to the 24s, you know, and anything in between. So I set up my drums as individual entities. All my drum heads are not going to be the same because of the element of what's my shell makeup. And not just the makeup of the shell and thickness and the material, but how big is it? How wide is it? That also determines how thin my resonant head might be or might not be. So I'm thinking that way, okay? So it becomes a bit more complicated for me. And it helps me to play easier and to get myself through a performance if I know that, because once I set my stuff up the way I wanted to, and if I can hear them properly, I have the best seat in the house, you know. And that's the objective, is for me to be able to play as well as I can under whatever circumstances there are to enhance what's happening in the music, to be part of a strong musical team, to give everybody something in which to play their best with. Okay.
So the super short answer is, what do you love most about drumming?
The end result.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, then
Well, you said super short.
my voice won't be in the interview, so
Okay.
maybe you can rephrase that. No sense at all. Another outtake.
What do I like best about playing drums? Is the end result.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And goodbye. Hopefully these were nice words.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.